The fact that the feds listened and renewed the investment this past March has to be seen as a success. As well, the current minister, Diane Finley, has committed to finally hosting a formal federal, provincial, territorial ministers meeting for those ministers responsible for housing. This is scheduled for the beginning of December, so we will cross our fingers that the meeting actually does take place. And at the end of the day, it will become apparent to our federal cousins that we all have a role to play in providing more affordable and social housing. We renewed the deal, and I'm proud that an additional $1.2 billion will be invested. In total, our government is investing $622 million to be matched by the federal government's $622 million. The new funding includes more than $700 million over the next 2 years for social housing repair and energy retrofits under the Social Housing Renovation and Retrofit Program. This is a grant program that funds the repair and regeneration of eligible social housing units. It focuses on improving the health and safety of residents living in social housing communities and works to provide enhanced accessibility for seniors and persons with disabilities. Money is already out the door, putting people to work and paying for many things like balconies, roofs, and new boilers at your housing units. As well, the new funding includes $540 million for an extension of the existing affordable housing program. Some $307 million is dedicated to the creation of affordable rental housing for low-income seniors, and more than $57 million is dedicated for the creation of affordable rental units for persons with disabilities. Again, we're moving quickly to get this money out to local housing providers, and we've already approved more than $172 million for construction-ready projects across the province. In total, we'll be renovating 50,000 housing units and building 4,500 new affordable housing units as a result of this new funding. As you can see from the accompanying pictures, there is lots of actual work happening across the province. And while there's all sorts of political debate about where the money is going and whose riding it's going into, whether it's a blue riding, a red riding, an orange riding, we can tell the federal government and we can tell our taxpayers that our money is being spent. Proof is in the pudding, and every time I visit a different part of the province, I have an opportunity to go on a seeing is believing tour where the actual buildings are being put up, the construction jobs have been created, and it really is a wonderful sight to behold. In fact, in London, my colleague, the Health Minister, Deb Matthews, who chaired our Poverty Reduction Committee, was at an announcement for a 52-unit affordable housing building that you can see right here. Deb said that while she was walking around the building, she met a lady named Dorothy who told her that she would be homeless without these units. If it was not planned, but Dorothy actually spoke at the press conference and talked about the importance of these investments. Deb said that there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It's stories like this that tell me the investments that we are making as a government and you are providing as community builders are making a difference. And this is exactly why this new money has to be spent quickly. The provincial government is doing everything we can to flow funding and approve projects. I have reminded our 47 service managers repeatedly that it is my direction that we move diligently and as fast and as responsibly as we can. The need is too dire, the priority too high to not travel down this path in a fast fashion. While we're making massive investments in housing, we realize that the challenges Ontarians face in accessible, affordable housing is more than simply money. The long-term affordable housing strategy is an initiative this province has needed for some time and one that I am proud to have started. We recognize that from the get-go that a successful affordable housing strategy for Ontario cannot be produced in isolation. It must be developed together with Ontarians and our community partners, municipalities, the not-for-profit sector, and the private sector. And when I sit around the cabinet table, I see the Minister of Health, who has responsibility for supportive housing, the Minister of Community and Social Services with homelessness and shelter supports. I hear stories of housing providers who have lined up rent supplements from their LHIN, only to realize they missed the opportunity to access capital funding to build the units needed to support those rent supplements. Following recommendations from our government's poverty reduction strategy and the provincial municipal fiscal and service delivery review, We reached out to Ontarians with first-hand experience and knowledge of affordable housing. They welcomed our invitation to sit at the discussion tables and shared their stories, their dreams, their aspirations, and their ideas with us. With all this in mind, we kicked off a series of 13 province-wide consultations for a long-term affordable housing strategy, beginning just a few months ago in June in Sault Ste. Marie and ending in Thunder Bay at the end of September. Many of you attended those consultations, and in fact, there were actually over 1,000 people that attended those consultations that I quite enjoyed. We didn't book flashy banquet halls or hotels. Instead, we opted for church basements, community centers, social housing rec rooms, places we knew that would provide community-based venues that would be comfortable for everyone to attend. Our facilitators were volunteers from the Ontario Public Service. They were not hired, they were volunteers, and I admire their dedication to public service. I valued the opportunity to attend about half of these sessions myself. The other half were attended by my parliamentary assistants, Carol Mitchell and Mario Sergio. By having these wide-ranging consultations, we wanted everyone to have sufficient opportunity to help create a common vision for affordable housing in our province. I believe that we have succeeded. The response has been overwhelming. As I said, more than 1,000 people attended these consultations, and in several instances we actually had overflow crowds. In my hometown of Ottawa, we even had to put out a tent in the parking lot to accommodate those who couldn't fit into the church hall next door. And I know that at least a dozen members of provincial parliament also held public consultations in their communities to supplement the ones that we couldn't get to. Clearly, there is a great interest in this issue and a great desire by the housing community to work together to continue charting the right course. It was humbling to see so many advocates sitting around tables, putting their minds together to come up with constructive solutions. I've often said in the 21st century, the most precious commodity is not going to be oil, it's not going to be water, it's going to be our time. And time is a precious thing, and I appreciate those of you who took the time to come to those consultations, to sit in the round tables, to take a leadership role in many instances at the tables, and to offer your good advice and counsel. We will continue to provide opportunities for public stakeholders and our municipal partners to participate in the consultation process until the end of this year. In fact, we're holding a series of bilateral discussions, I think 7 or 8 of them in total. We've had about 3 in the last couple of weeks. ONPHA and other groups have been very instrumental in coming to the table so we can drill down a little deeper to get into some of the specifics that we're going to need to put in our affordable long-term housing strategy. It's been a wonderful experience for me personally, and I have no doubt the consultations will result in an outstanding plan for the future of affordable housing in Ontario. We've received literally hundreds of ideas and suggestions that will assist us in building a long-term strategy to improve access to adequate, suitable, and affordable housing. All of them will be considered carefully as we develop our final strategy, which will be unveiled next year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my belief that our investments in affordable housing are more than mere dollars. They are investments in the dignity, pride of home, and sense of community that every person in Ontario deserves. There's no question that nonprofit groups are vital partners in this effort. As Minister, I see firsthand the significant differences you are making in our province. We're doing this for people like Larry from Kingston, who has been homeless for most of his life due to a battle with mental illness and addiction, and has finally found a safe refuge for his final years in one of our supportive housing projects. People like Delphine in Toronto, who lost the use of her legs and uses an electric scooter to get around an accessible, affordable housing project in her neighborhood. And of course, the young man who purchases a washer and dryer for his family. Low-income families, single men and women, senior citizens, victims of domestic violence, persons with developmental or physical disabilities, persons with mental illness, and those who struggle with homelessness all benefit from nonprofit housing. To all of you here today who make the system work day in and day out, I say thank you for your creativity, thank you for your dedication, and thank you for your kindness. Together, we can create the caring, compassionate society of which we can all be so very, very proud. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.